are watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. From Toronto, Ontario, I'm Catherine Bullock. Assalamu alaikum and greetings of peace. Coming up, a conversation with film director YUSUF ZINE about a documentary he directed called I Am Rohingya that charts Rohingya youth in Ontario putting on a stage play about their experiences. But first, some news headlines. Health chief says vaccination key to safe return to schools. Petition demands government ban entry of Indian leaders. 19th MuslimFest to be held in Mississauga. Israel sentences World Vision Gaza chief to 12 years for aiding Hamas. Now the details. Canada's Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Theresa Tam says it is important to bring a sense of normalcy to students returning back to school, reports a media source. Dr. Tam says the pandemic is still with us. She says cases of COVID-19 and influenza will likely rise again, with kids gathering indoors. Schools will reopen this year with minimal COVID-19 restrictions. Dr. Tam says that getting children vaccinated is the first step towards protection. According to Health Canada, only 42% of children aged 5 to 11 have received 2 doses of the vaccine. This percentage of fully vaccinated children is lower than older age groups. An online petition filed by the National Council of Canadian Muslims, or NCCM, is demanding that the Canadian government bar entry of racist Indian leaders who have been calling for ethnic cleansing of Indian Muslims. NCCM has put together a file of 13 leaders of India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party who have induced riots, engaged in hate speech, and threatened the Muslim community. The petition also demands that Canada not participate in the upcoming G20 conference hosted by India in the disputed area of Kashmir. Human Rights Watch and Justice for All Canada have accused India of committing severe human rights violations in the region. The 19th annual MuslimFest will be hosted in Mississauga's Celebration Square from September 2nd to September 4th. The 3-day event will feature an opening ceremony, acrobatics, a martial arts show, a calligraphy arts display, a play about a Muslim slave, a painting competition, and vendor displays. The event is a unique fusion of Muslim traditions and Canadian culture. Since its launch in 2004, each year MuslimFest celebrates Muslim art and entertainment. It is North America's largest festival of its kind, attracting over 60,000 visitors. It is a joint project of Sound Vision and Darwinet. World Vision's former Gaza head, Mohammed al-Halabi, has been sentenced yesterday by the Beersheba District Court in southern Israel with 12 years in prison, less the time he has spent in detention. The former Gaza head of the major US-based Christian aid agency has been jailed throughout the past 6 years of court proceedings. The Israeli court ruled in June that al-Halabi was guilty of siphoning off millions of dollars and steel to Hamas, which controls the Palestinian enclave. Halabi's lawyer reiterated his claim to innocence following Tuesday's sentencing. Halabi, who was arrested in June 2016 and indicted in August that year, has consistently denied any irregularities. World Vision, with 40,000 employees globally, says the sentencing is deeply disappointing. And that's it for the news. Last week, we observed the 5th anniversary of Rohingya Genocide Remembrance Day. To talk to us about what the day means to him and the film he produced about the situation, we are joined by director and actor YUSUF ZINE. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me.
It's an honor to have you with us today. You are not Rohingya, but you are involved. We'll get to that later on. But what does the day, the Rohingya Genocide Remembrance Day, mean to you?
Well, it's a reminder of a lot of things. One, the sadness and the anger and frustration from people like myself, from the Rohingya community, that this situation has still endured for so many years. And you know, this is not a new or recent situation. This this genocide has its roots 20, 30 years on.
Mm.
And here we are still having to, mark the fact that there has been no progress. In fact, the situation has gotten only worse for the Rohingya people. And so for me, when I was making this film, I had hoped that, 4 or 5 years after, there would have been some change. But I'm saddened to see that things have only gotten worse. And I think about the Rohingya community and how strong they are and how they have to remind themselves that this is still the situation their community faces. They have families back home who have not left Myanmar.
So let's talk a little bit about the film. You produced a really unique film, which was actually a film of a stage play that you were directing. So tell us briefly what that story is.
Yeah, so back in it was like 2017, 2016, I started working with the Rohingya youth community in Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario. For those who don't know, there's actually a large community there of Rohingya people who resettled from Bangladesh back in 2008 and 2010. And I was there working with a social service organization to do a project with them. And so when I approached them, I asked them, what do you guys want to do? How do you want to spend the summer? Unequivocally, they all said, we want to tell our story. Nobody is listening to the Rohingya plight, and day by day, our people are dying. And so one of the kids, Ahmed, suggested doing a play. And, I come from a theater background. I'm an actor. I've been doing theater my whole life. And so I just thought, how amazing would it be for people who've really been through these experiences of living in a refugee camp, of fleeing violence, to portray it in a live theater production. So we spent 9 months putting the play together, and I knew that the play would only have certain amount of, could only go so far. And so we decided to document the whole process on film, and that's what the film sort of follows.
I was honored to be able to watch the film, and you've called it I Am Rohingya, a genocide in 4 acts. One of the scenes that struck me really deeply was when the kids themselves play the scene as Burmese military dressed up with orange robes and orange masks. Half of them are acting as the military and the others as the people being attacked, basically themselves. How could they? What was that like for them to play that role?
Well, it was probably the most challenging part. We had a lot of conversations about how we were going to portray the oppressors in that scene, and how if it was just going to be military garb, and ultimately we landed on something more striking, because I think the image of Burmese Buddhists, specifically Burmese Buddhists, not just Buddhists, committing these violent acts is shocking for audiences, and we wanted to elicit a reaction from the audience. And so for the kids, I think, a part of it was tough because they were now stepping into the shoes of their oppressor. And it was, I think kind of, it was a lot for them to deal with. But also on a pragmatic level, I mean, they're kids and they got to wear masks, and they thought that was fun, and it hide them if they were laughing or breaking character. I mean, that's part of it too. I mean, as much as it was reenacting genocide, it was also kids doing theater. And I think that's something that surprises people, and that kind of carries on in the film.
You managed to interview a Buddhist monk who talked about the fact that Rohingya don't exist as a people. Was that a difficult interview to secure?
It was probably the most difficult interview to do. Not difficult to secure. We didn't lead with the fact that we wanted to ask him about the Rohingya issue. It was our Michael Moore moment, I guess, of the gotcha, where we said we just wanted to learn more about Myanmar and the country, and about the refugee issue. And so we sort of like warmed our way into those questions, but I wasn't prepared for that. I really, at that point, I'd only spoken to people who had given a very sympathetic, responses to the plight of the Rohingyas. And this was the first time I was sitting in front of someone who is a genocide denier, who was saying that there are no Rohingyas, there is no problem in Myanmar. Myanmar is great. You should travel there, visit, and meanwhile, I was showing him news clippings of a video that had leaked of Rohingyas who were being rounded up and beaten and tortured and killed. And this was not somebody who is we didn't go to Myanmar to interview him. This was someone in Canada. So it just shows how these views of the Rohingya are so prevalent within the community.
Well, did you find that as well by people who came to watch the performance, that kind of pushback?
Surprisingly, no. We didn't have too much pushback. Interestingly, we had, I think, the biggest criticism around the masks and the portrayal of the Buddhists, which is I love having that debate. I think it's really important. But also people who are from Bangladesh who identify as Bengali or Bangladeshi think that the film sort of takes issue with the country, which we do, rightfully so, and the Rohingya people do take issue with the experiences they faced in the camps in Bangladesh. But I think the sentiment is that Bangladesh is under enormous pressure, and now they have a huge refugee crisis on their hands. They're already a poor country. What do you expect us to do? And we're not criticizing that. I mean, we take issue with the government for sure, who are even now trying to repatriate the Rohingyas back to Myanmar. But for us, it was just about honoring the stories of the Rohingya people, because they don't get that opportunity, and they had legitimate, really harrowing experiences in Bangladesh. So that's sort of where sometimes the criticism.
They were harrowing. I mean, just the whole thing is harrowing. I can't imagine what it was like for the kids to be eager to put on a stage play about it. One of the things at the end you talked to the parents, and they would say things like, before the play my kid wouldn't talk, and now they're talking. Did the play then play some kind of psychological therapy moment for the kids, do you think?
I think so. I mean, that's the power of theater. That's the power of art. I mean, I experienced that in myself, and as a kid. And, I wonder if it was both the experience of reliving not just their memories, but, a lot of them were playing their parents and their grandparents, and they had to ask their parents stories and memories that they never heard before in order to then portray it on stage. But also, like I said, theater has that transformative nature about it. And I didn't realize it in the moment. That certainly wasn't the mission. Like, I wasn't trying to take the kids out of their shell, or have this be some sort of therapy, or through art. We really just we were on a mission, which was to tell the story and put on a great show. And I think throughout that, and when I had time to reflect, and when we were editing the film, we all sort of realized, wow, like, you can see the footage of Abdus Salam from the beginning being very quiet and not saying anything, to the end where he's laughing and running around and talking to us, and then when we spoke to the parents, we heard the same thing. So I think that was the thing I'm probably the most proud of, is the transformative nature it had for the kids in their personal lives.
And not only them, the audience as well. I feel transformed from having watched it. Now, we're almost out of time, but that brings me then to my last question. I'm sure when it was released in 2018, you did lots of screenings, but now, how would somebody watch it now if they wanted to?
There's a couple different ways. If you want to watch it online, you can go to, it's on Vimeo on demand. If you search up I Am Rohingya, it's one of the first things that comes up. You can stream it, you can rent it, buy it. You can also request a screening, in your hometown or your university fundraiser. We do Q&As with the filmmaker. Sometimes the cast comes and joins. And so, yeah, really just reach out to us and let us know how you want to watch the film, or how you want people to see it. We have the film in universities and school libraries and, film festivals. So if you want to bring the film to your town, just go to imrohingyafilm.com.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for this brief moment and talking about your experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for watching. If you like what we do, please share, like, and subscribe. Stay safe, and God bless.